Welcome back to 365 Unlimited. We are back with another episode. First time really sitting down in person. It's a very special episode for us. Being able to sit down with A&B Ambition, a local brand within our community. Two people that run this business that we're very excited to get to know. This is the first time we've met in person.
Yeah.
So a really cool sit down, a really cool angle to be able to chop it up in person. You know, Gannon and myself doing a lot of these interviews in Zoom, online, and to have that in-person aspect and kind of just get to really do a deep dive and get to know each other is fascinating. So, Gannon, let's rock with this.
Yeah, let's go. Shout out to you guys for joining us today. This is going to be a good recording. I think we're going to be able to learn as much as everybody else tuning into this, just some stuff for our own business, kind of share and tell a little bit on that. But kind of before we get going, just want to have you two explain kind of A&B, the start of the brand, and just where we at today now.
Yeah, so I'm Edgar Mendez. I'm the owner and founder of A&B Ambition. I actually started A&B Ambition in 2020 during COVID. So I was in the National Guard and I got activated to be on the first response team for the COVID mission. And during that time, I actually did a lot of distribution to the whole state. And then on my free time when I was off duty, that's when I was starting to focus on A&B Ambition. So I started working with manufacturers. I started doing tech packs, designing the brand, creating it, and now we are here today, 3 years in the business. So we're really happy to be here. And I have Katie that joined in halfway through my journey, and now she's full time doing this with me, and we're now partners in business and in life.
That's awesome. Yeah, so talk about your relationship, like being able to work hand in hand, you know, man and women being together, but also building
Work-life balance.
Like talk about that.
Oh my, it is interesting. It's you know, it can get difficult, right? Because you know you butt heads, just like in a relationship. Same thing in business.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we come together and we resolve any issues we have at the end, and we try to stay as civil and come up with like the same vision. I guess the thing that helps us is we both have the same vision, but how to get there, we think differently. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, so take a relationship, for example. Like, I mean, you butt heads, like he was saying, in a relationship. You got to times it by 2 now. So now, what you were saying, the work-life balance, sometimes it's hard because you do start your day off with, you know, the relationship, then you go right into work, and then it's also together. And then from there, after work, you go right back to home, which is also together. So definitely finding the clear line of work and home. It helps, but like he said, keeping the same vision, that has been, I can think of countless times that we've either gotten into some type of, you know, disagreement or something, but at the very end of all of our disagreements, what ends up happening is we both kind of come to the conclusion of what we both want out of whatever it is that we're talking about, and that's what always solves it. Is just that we have the same picture at the very end. Yeah. And then we move on right after that, and then we keep working, we keep going. It definitely strengthens both the relationship and the business, I think. It's a unique experience.
I think just touching on that, it obviously is different with Bryce and I, but because we've had a good friend relationship since we were little kids growing up. We butted heads through a lot of different things through our 3 years plus on this. Like just hearing some of that stuff obviously is different with you two and all that, and me and Bryce, but there are a lot of similarities. But once you can, like you say, get through those little things and still have that common goal at the end of it all, it just makes it so much sweeter because then you have somebody else that's as like-minded as you on the process. You don't feel alone. I think that's kind of the biggest thing Bryce and I have experienced at a certain time. What do you think about that?
100%. We talked about Edgar a little bit, but I want to talk about you. Like Edgar introduced himself. Like, who are you, Katie? Like, talk about your sales background. Like what it is with that.
So I was not around at the beginning of A&B. Like Edgar said, it was just him with that. So while he was starting A&B, I was still working in a sales position. So I worked for AT&T for a little while, and that was where I got a lot of my sales experience. My original starting sales position was actually here in Galena with Poopsies of Galena. They're a well-known store here in town. And that set the foundation for sales. They taught me great organization skills when it comes to your selling procedure, I guess, is what I would go with. But going into AT&T, it was different because it took me from like a retail selling experience into B2B sales.
Yep.
Which B2B sales is a completely different ballgame. I mean, that's your cold calling, your door knocking, you're doing all of those really tough sales pitches and things. So that definitely, I grew some thick skin with that type of job. But I will say that helped me with where I am now with the business, with talking to people, right? Developing connections and being able to sell something that I love. So that was kind of the transition and why I went from the previous careers that I've been in to going full entrepreneur. Is because I started to see a disconnect in, I loved selling, but I didn't necessarily love what I was selling. So for me, it was so important that if I am going to be out here and I'm going to be selling to somebody and I'm going to be, getting somebody to be on board with what it is I'm talking about, I need to stand behind it too. And I need to also love what I'm doing. And it makes it easier to get up every day and to do it. So that was actually officially when I made that jump was I didn't love what I was doing. And I saw an avenue that could be my own, where I could do that and love what I do and it be my own thing. So that's where Edgar actually introduced me to that world. Because up until then, I've always had this idea of, doing my own thing or whatever it may be. But I was always a little too afraid to take that jump, I think. It's really scary. It's a risk.
It's very scary. Yeah.
I mean, it is. And I was always a little scared to do that. So meeting Edgar was really mind-opening for me because he had taken that jump with A&B already. And he opened up this world of possibilities, like in my eyes, that I've never actually stuck through and thought about. And he helped me get there. So that was definitely where we started to really develop a bond in a relationship, was working together and him like showing me what other world is out there that like I could get into.
Yeah, no, just to build off that, I find it fascinating. So we talked about 2020. Like, we all know what was going on during 2020 with COVID. So launching your business in 2020 and us launching our stuff in 2020. Yeah, we started in November. Launch was December, correct, for you?
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Do you feel like the launch, like during that time of 2020, like kind of sped up the process and allowed us to take that jump during that time? Or like, what did COVID do for us as not necessarily business owners, but just our entrepreneurial skill sets? Like, what
with you guys being an e-commerce business as
Yeah.
well? Like,
So I mean, it helped a lot just because we were stuck in a room.
Yeah.
In my case, I was stuck in a hotel room because I was on duty. And I mean, what else are you gonna do? That's like the perfect time to like really hone in and craft something and start to actually build it. So it actually kind of gave us, I would say, an advantage. I know a lot of people like to think of it as a disadvantage, but I like to see it as an advantage to finally actually do something. People thought that the world was ending, and it's like, if it really is, what can I do something before it ends? Like, I want to do something impactful that's going to leave a legacy behind. And that's why, I decided to create a clothing brand.
I think the cool part is there's a lot of people that went one direction or another when COVID hit in 2020. There's some people that use that time as a calling to kind of find what their passion was, that we all did here. And there's some people that kind of went the other direction and didn't do a whole lot with it. But it's inspiring. And like Bryce said, the timing of it all, we're doing the research. This is a month around when we were doing it. It feels cool. It feels right being here and talking to you guys. But you guys can see it out here on front here. The slogan is a strong desire to achieve. It's 4 simple words, but I just want to have both of you guys kind of hit on that, what it means to you and also the brand.
Yeah, so ambition is a big word in my vocabulary. I aspire to not just, strive to do, be the best physically, but also mentally, going above and beyond what is asked. I did that during my time in the military. I did it when I was in college, and I'm going to continue to do it. It's just, I feel like it's something that it's in you, and we want to create a community where it's welcomed, right? Those people that are, their goal is to achieve and to leave something behind. That's kind of what our brand is really about, is making that community where you're welcome to be a bit ambitious individual. Because I know sometimes, that word can be perceived in a negative connotative way, and we want to do it like almost inspire people to be ambitious. You know, that's what our brand is.
Branching off of what he was saying, kind of going back to ambitious, not only physically but mentally. I think that's definitely where I resonated with it a lot too, is because, you know, yeah, you have your physically ambitious people that want to hit the gym, they want to do these things, right? But there's an entire pool of people out there, like the entrepreneurs out in the world, and the people that, you know, maybe you're not even an entrepreneur, but you're a CEO, or you're aspiring to climb up the ladder in the career that you have or something. Those people all have something in common, and they're all ambitious, and they have a drive, and that's what they share in common. It doesn't matter your physicality when it comes to that. You're a strong individual mentally then too. So that is definitely where I see like a huge focus of when we do draw that community together. It's everybody who thinks that way and who wants to do more and better themselves. So, yeah.
I think, though, before you go and ask your thing, I just think the ownership, because Bryce and I, we like clothing brands, we like different type of stuff, but if you can have a connection with a certain brand and a reason why you're wearing it, when you put the shirt or pants on in the morning, it's a different type of feel. It's an extra added motivation. If you trust the brand, if you know the people, you kind of just have that sense of feeling. It's a connection.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's other athletic brands, there's everybody else trying to do this, but what sets you apart? And that mental side of the note, I think Bryce is going to maybe want to touch on that.
No,
but
exactly.
That's a very focal point of our show and our lives at the end of the day also.
Yeah, so just to be a little vulnerable about it, so like Gannon and myself both go through anxiety. I've been through depression, and it's part of my everyday life. So to have a brand that actively searches to not only better the physical, but better the mental, better the emotional, that's what like kind of stuck out to me right in your About Us page where it talks about those three things. Like, because it's much more than the physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
And for us, like that's what we strive to do, is to be able to have conversations with people. And when they can tell their story, it doesn't impact the physical aspect of it, clearly being on a camera, but when they're able to talk and kind of just let out their story, like that truly impacts. But I want to ask you guys just to flip-flop it. So what would you guys say to the people that still have ambition, still want to dream chase, want to achieve things, but they don't know where to start? So we talked about taking that jump. What do we say to the people that don't have a clue how to do it, or maybe some of them just don't want to do it? What do we say to those people?
Yeah, I like to think of this quote as, when was the best time to plant a tree, right? They always say 10 years ago. Well, when's the next best time? Is now.
Yep.
And I think people just have to kind of take that gut feeling or that initiative to actually do it. I mean, there's never a perfect time to do something, right? Did you guys know that day you were like, we're starting it, like we have everything planned. Like, we have all the camera, we have all the equipment. No, you guys probably didn't start having everything. You guys just jumped in, and now you guys are 3 years into your business as well. And that just shows that motivation and that drive is in you. It doesn't matter how much you have, it's just doing it, right? And that's what we want to tell people is, like, just do it. There's not a perfect time. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, it's going to pay off.
100%.
I think it's interesting. That's an interesting question, especially with I feel like our two answers will be a little different because
I'm very much
Edgar
Yeah,
is the one that he did it. He took that jump, right?
Yeah.
I was the opposite of that. I didn't take that jump right away by myself because I needed a little more. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are just like that. So I would say for me, what definitely did it in is finding the passion. That was what I was lacking. That's what was lacking behind it for me was, you know, I knew what I was good at doing, but I didn't really know what my purpose was. Yep. So it was finding something that I finally was like, wow, I could really see something in this. And then really honing in on developing that skill. So learning about it, you know, watching YouTube videos. If there's something that you are passionate about and it's a skill that you want to develop and you want to learn, start kind of researching YouTube videos on how to do that thing, or, you know, what are some things that you would have to purchase? What are some, you know, groups that you would have to network with? And then I would say get involved with those groups and see what other people are doing. So, you know, that's going to really broaden your horizons of like the possibilities. And then you're naturally going to get that drive after you've opened up a new pool of possibility. Yep. The drive will actually come naturally to you if you're passionate. If you're not passionate, the drive will not come naturally. So that's what I think in that whole.
I think you threw out a very key point, because like it clicked in my head, like when we started the podcast, like I wouldn't say that I was a very social person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't a person that would go out of my way to connect with different people, and definitely probably wasn't going out to network. Granted, I was younger and that wasn't a part of my life at the time, but
We had a passion.
yeah, like to be able to like learn it and truly understand like how to talk, how to connect with people and learn about them, because it doesn't just benefit yourself, but it benefits the world in general. Like to be able to connect, share stories, that networking aspect of it is huge, whether it's for retail, sales, podcasting, or just relationships in general.
Absolutely.
Goes a long way, but I wanted to throw that out there.
I just kind of want to touch on if somebody is their own entrepreneur thinking about maybe taking that leap of faith, just what are some pros and cons that you kind of experience? Obviously, there's a big long list. We could have a whole hour long recording on this, but just
its
some,
own segment.
just some major takeaways, good and bad, that you've been experiencing now for 3 years. Just
Take
kind
a
of,
pick on which
it's
ones
just major
you
ones.
want to touch on.
We could talk about. Let's talk about the bad. I think being transparent and being honest with.
Talk about the bad first, and then
we'll talk about the
good.
good, right?
There you go.
Well, I will say the first thing is it's probably one of the biggest risks you can take. It is if you are willing to jump from having, at least for me, I went from making 6 figures annually to not even know if I could make my mortgage the next month.
Yeah.
It is very scary.
It's a financial risk.
It's
I will
a
say.
huge financial risk, and it's a very lonely road.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. You can't really talk to everyone about this because not everybody is doing it. You can't just talk about business plans because most people have no idea what you're talking about. So it is a very lonely and scary road. Another con is having to sacrifice your time.
That's what I was going to touch on, is that's a huge thing that you start to learn. And I feel like especially for anybody that is starting to dabble into entrepreneurship or just doing their own thing so young, in your 20s, that's like your time. That's your prime. That's when you're going out. That's when you're meeting people. That's when you're hanging out. Yeah. It's when you're having fun. It's when you're learning and figuring out what you want to do, which is great. And that's what you should be doing. But once you kind of have a little hook on what it is you do want to do and you decide to take that dive and go all in on it, now you got to sacrifice. Now that's when you hit that fork in the road of, okay, I can keep doing these things or I can continue seeing where this route will take me. But if I do, I'm going to have to stay in. I'm going to have to say no when my friends are in town. I'm going to have to say no to, there's a lot of things that you have to learn to say no to, and it sucks for a while because you feel bad too because you never want people to think that you don't want to be around them anymore. That's not where it's coming from. It's coming from it's the time and the money that you need to invest in the business. Every penny and every moment matters to angling.
At the beginning, I will definitely say.
But it's all for an overall goal of you're not going to have to do that forever.
Yeah.
That's the drive, is do it early on because we're going to hit a point where we don't have to do this and we won't have to worry. So that's part of the fears in the cons, I would say.
I think the biggest thing if you want to hit on some pros, is just what you were saying there. My thing is I like to tell people when I went away 6 hours away to school, out of high school, and now I'm in grad school in Florida. I love being uncomfortable at the end of the day, and I think that's the most when you learn about yourself. When you're in new areas, you don't have a lot of established connections. You have to go out and create stuff on your own, and that's kind of the same stuff you guys are talking about. Taking that leap of faith with the money, with your everything in life, and being uncomfortable in that moment, but knowing down the road that it'll turn out to be comfortable. And I think it's a really good point because a lot of people are scared to be uncomfortable temporarily. But for the long-term growth, it is exponentially important for you. Like I'm going to live on, die on that hill, because you have to be uncomfortable to get uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable, and that was a really cool point.
That's a big thing I feel like that we see too. That's a big comment I see in a lot of athletic trainers, and then the athletic mentality too. You see that being comfortable, get comfortable being uncomfortable,
100%.
Which totally translates over
Especially
to mentally
training,
too.
There's
mentally.
so many similarities.
You gotta train hard so you don't, come game day, you're ready. And nobody sees those days.
The majority of people don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. and go work out. Like that's the majority of people. Some people are crazy like that.
Yeah.
That's a like few.
That's us.
Not quite 4 now.
5.
4 or 5, but
Yeah.
But it gets to a point where like you develop that mentality and you do it for so long, and it's just a replication, the process, that all-in mentality you touched on right there, and that's something that I tell Gannon all the time when we talk about our podcast, our journey in itself. Like, why do it if you're not all in?
Absolutely.
Like, why even
exactly.
attempt? And that's something that, yes, obviously you have to take that leap, but once you take the leap and you develop that mentality over time, it does create that unbreakable sense where your friends start to understand a little bit more, and if they don't, like,
then you know.
In all reality, you know who should be in your inner circle. So I want to talk about. So I was brainstorming last night, trying to come up with some questions that I thought could really spark the mind. But ultimately, what's the difference between your business self and your personal self?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, wow.
Like, you talk about you guys living together, being together, and working on this business together. But personal lives, obviously, there's a separate mentality that they intertwine. They 100% do. But what's the difference in them?
Yeah.
I can start with a small comment. So for me personally, I know my personal self, I'm a lot goofier in person. Like when you meet me just as an individual than I am in a business setting, in a professional setting. I have I don't want to call it a mask, but in a way, I feel like everyone has a professional mask, and everyone will know, what you mean by that. It's like when you type an email to a business, it's the way you word things that's just different. So I think professionally for me, I definitely try to stop and think a little more about things before I say them. I listen more in a room, and I try to read the room a little better. When it's just me personally, I am a lot more goofy. I'm a lot more, just chitter chatter all day long. It does translate over. I see the connection between the two. It's just there is a difference there with how much I let myself, how much I expose myself in that sense of my real personality. So that is one thing for me.
I guess for me, it's almost hard to just not come out of that personality. It's almost it's in me, and we could be talking, at the house, and I don't know where I tend up to bring business, and I'm sure Katie gets annoyed by it, but then I come up with these amazing new ideas that we can do, and it's like 12 o'clock at night. So I guess for me it's very hard to differentiate the two, but I would say I'm more. I guess I don't even know how I differentiate.
They're just intertwined together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it is. You do hit a point, I feel like, where the two definitely do intertwine, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a unique thing. I think it's interesting to be able to see that you can take two versions of yourself and pull the good out in both of them and find a way to make it to where that becomes your all the time version of yourself. And I think that's maybe the goal that a lot of people would probably want to work towards, is like, how can I intertwine both of those personas, I guess, to just make it me all the time.
Oh, those are great answers, because I think a lot of times, more often than not, people tend to get lost in the business aspect of it, and then they lose themselves in the process. So finding a way to keep that equal balance and kind of put on two different personas, but let them intertwine at the same time is cool. So no, those answers are key.
I kind of want to branch off that a little bit too, because you just made me think of something, which is, I think figuring out how to navigate and handle negativity is really important. So obviously for both business and personal, even more so when you're doing both of those things together. But I will say that has been a game changer for us, and where we can see specifically when we're failing and when we're not failing, when we're succeeding, comes down to what our outlook during that time is. Because I can think of situations where we fought more, personal and work, couldn't come to agreements on a lot of things, and really woke up every day with very negative, just kind of outlooks on like, I don't want to do this today, we've got this to do, we've got this to do. Just disagreeing with everything that we were talking about. And it wasn't until I remember we went for a really long walk one day. Do you remember the walk? And
I remember that walk. It was a walk that we needed to have.
And it was hours long, just around the neighborhood, and we came to the conclusion of, what's missing right now is is positivity. Our outlook on everything. We started looking at things right off of the gate of like, what could go wrong? What is going wrong? It wasn't optimistic anymore. And that's how we started. We started
Very
optimistic.
Yeah.
So we could feel that change and see where it actually started showing in business and personal is because of that. So I think really understanding when to find that change and fixing it, because that will totally change how everything else is going.
No, that's crucial.
It's funny you say that about the positivity aspect and all that, because sometimes we'll get frustrated when we have video views, subscriptions, all that streaming stuff. But then we fall back to like our why at the end of the day, it's like that's just not important right now for us, because what's important is having a kid who's in high school say, hey, that helped me in my recruiting process. Say, hey, this helped me talk to this coach. You have some people from the community reach out saying, I love what you're supporting, doing for these athletes. At the end of the day, that's what makes us happy and makes us feel positive when those numbers and those subscriptions are going right. Because that's the fallback to why we started it and having that foundation to affect everybody's lives and all this. But I want to switch it up. I want to kind of go back to December 2020 and kind of before that for you, Edgar, just kind of your thought process leading up to it. Was this a vision you had for years? And also with your military background, because a lot of my family is involved in the military or either retired. My college baseball coach grew up on a military base, so there's a lot of values that are instilled with me through that. I know I carry those every single day, and I just want to hear kind of you touch on that.
Yeah, so definitely serving in the military gives you that hard mindset automatically. You know, you're trained to be, tore down, and then they build you back up, and that's kind of like the mentality I had through the whole process of when I was doing this A&B ambition journey. And I think what really drove me to start and to do all this was, just having that mentality behind it. So when the day came, actually, I had my cousin, my nephew, I had my sister helping here and there. We spent about 3 days just nonstop pressing shirts, getting it all ready, and the launch day came, and I had one sale. That is, I kid you not, it was one sale. But looking back at that sale, it really showed how tough, I had to have hard skin to be like, I literally put 3 days of no sleeping to come out with one sale.
Yeah, for what? Yeah.
It gives you that, like, why did I do this, right? Because it was like, wow, I promoted it, I pressed all these shirts, I made my cousins and all them suffer with me, and just to get one sale. But I think having that military background, gave me that endurance and that tough skin to be like, it's okay. This is just one of the battles that we lost. There's many more to come, and we're gonna win this war. And I think that's where like having that mentality of being a warrior comes from.
That's awesome.
Serving in the military.
That's awesome, because it piggybacks off what the question Gannon asked and what you said about having one sale, right? And obviously it's a different circumstance in sales than it is with us with our show. But what Gannon was saying, if we have an episode and it gets, if it gets 13, 20, 1,000 views, but if it hit one person, and it truly reached one person, whether it's an episode about mental health.
We had a mental health segment two plus years ago, and we still hear people reach out to us monthly about that.
We did a 7-part series where we sat down and touched on individual
our own stuff.
Yeah, individual stuff. So, we did our own individual episodes talking about our problems, like what we faced. But then we did this whole project, 7-part series, where we discussed like the little intricacies behind mental health. So whether it was how to handle pain, like how to handle suffering and death and stuff like that. So if it reaches one person, so like your sale, obviously that one person, it reached them. They understood the mission. They understood what the clothes represented. But I want to switch gears a little bit and touch on both of you, the production aspect of it, the shipping, the creating, the manufacturing, the website, all of that, the social media too, everything.
So at the beginning, I did it all. Production, designing, marketing, website, you name it. It was me at the beginning. So I played many hats in the business. Thankfully, I got Katie and Lydia and Freddie to help me, create this brand. But I definitely the beginning was very hard. Production-wise, I would work with the manufacturer, create the tech packs, create the sizing, get everything, the fabrics to fit, how it fit, and then I would order it in bulk, and then it would get here. And in order to save some money, I actually had my own heat press and a vinyl cutter, as well as a screen print, and I would do everything in-house just to save some few extra bucks, because at that time I had spent most of my money on inventory. So that's how production started, but the marketing side of it is, I had that knowledge behind me already, working at a creative agency. I had that background, so that really helped me, but it wasn't until having Lydia and Katie and Freddie helping us with now all of it, so that having a team is very important, because you can't do everything by yourself. At that point, you're a solopreneur.
Yeah, I compare it to where we were when he was in the military. He was living in a hotel room in Madison for 2 years. So this is actually when I met him. So when I started to come stay with him, he was in a hotel room. I mean, that's where he was, and he had been there for at least a year or 2 years already by that point. So when we got orders in, I remember it was such an interesting route to having to pack them, because we get done. I go out and I stay in Madison because I worked remote at the time. So I go out and stay with him for a week on end. At one point, it felt like I was living there in the room. And we get orders that came in, and it was fewer than now. But when orders did come in, we stored the inventory actually at a storage unit and his parents' basement. So what we would have to do is we would have to go to his parents' house, pack a bin of what we thought was going to sell, bring it back to Madison, and then we had a bin that we packed orders out of in the hotel room. So that's how we started with the process, and that's how I first learned how we were, how it started. And it was fun. It was different, but it was really fun. But it's cool to look at it now, like where we are now, compared to we were in a hotel room packing orders.
To my mom's base, my parents'
from the parents' basement.
Now you got your
So now we have an actual place and a system in place where now it's all here. We pack it, we process it, we do everything.
Fulfillment's a lot easier now. You just go get your poly mailer bag, look at the order, you get it, and then print out a printing label, slap it on there, and send it on its way. So it's very easy now.
I want to piggyback off that because I think a lot of people get lost in the end goal, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about where we want to get and how we want to get there, but we more often times, like I fall victim to it, I know Gannon has, we kind of forget about enjoying the journey. So talk about you guys, we've talked about the build up and how you've gotten to where you are, so it's your journey, but what do you appreciate most about the hardships you faced and the struggle, the adversity? I think adversity is a key word there. How you've gotten to where you are now. What do you appreciate most about this journey?
I think going through all that adversity is making me as a stronger individual. And then leaving an impact on other people's lives. We've created this brand, and it's brought a lot of people together, and that really gives me joy that we're bringing a community of ambitious individuals to come together to these photo shoots, to these ambassador programs, and everybody leaving there feeling even more motivated than they have ever been. I know as soon as we have a photo shoot, they are 100% in the brand. They love it. They rock with it, and I think that leaves a nice warm feeling in my heart, knowing that because of doing this journey, I was able to impact someone's life.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because when you really think about it, there's a lot of things that you can appreciate. I feel like when you reflect on it, but sometimes, like you were saying, you almost forget to appreciate. There are so many things to appreciate, but you do forget. So I think it's little moments are what I appreciate the most, and it's the little moments when I remember those moments. That's what I appreciate. Like this moment right now, thinking back to the hotel room, stuff like that. Honestly, moments like these are what make me appreciate things a lot more, because then I really do start reflecting and thinking back on like, wow, we really did come a long way from there. Because touching on what you said with what's the end goal, I think this works for anybody. your end goal honestly is always changing.
Yep.
Your end goal is always also moving, because what happens is you don't realize that you achieve these things when you're forgetting,
100%.
and you achieve these things. So when you look back on it, you did achieve your end goal,
Yep.
but now you have a new end goal that you're working towards, and then you're gonna achieve that one.
Mhm.
I mean, look at your track record.
Yeah.
You have achieved things. So it's a constant achieving and progressing. So I don't really think there ever really is an end game, because there's so many little end games throughout the journey.
I agree with that, because when you're evolving, like you think about it, we learn every day, we grow every day, we meet new people every day.
Yeah.
We experience things every day. So our end goals, our dreams, they always are evolving nonstop. So like you said, if I achieve this one day, I may not realize it, but 5 years down the line, I'm gonna be like, well, that was my goal
Like, wow.
before that.
Yeah.
So no, that's 100% accurate, and I don't think we ever will achieve the true dream, because
Right.
we're always building on that dream.
Exactly.
What Katie said about like there really isn't an end goal is really what I think my philosophy has shifted these last couple of years, growing, maturing, changing a lot of stuff in my life, personal life. My quote is be where your feet are. Like at the end of the day, it's what do you have in your 24 hours? 'Cause you can't get to the next 24 hours with handling what you have in that day. And then you level up each day. If you can handle your 24 that day, then the next level will be higher and higher. And then really you'll never be an end goal, like or an end level, so to speak, at that. If you can keep just handling what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, enjoying those little things. Like Bryce and I will get a memory on our Snapchat when we first got our first headset and recording device over Christmas, and it was like 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve, and we were recording, just trying out the new audio and
We were
stuff.
fired up.
And now look where we're at now. Like we got our own website. We get it's
$20
just.
microphone sitting on.
But it's those little things, like what she touched on. Those are the little things, and then like what Edgar said, when those things all come to fruition, and it makes you feel good, and then that turns into the motivation to keep going in those 24 hours each and every day. And I think it's a really cool and unique thing. I know I've learned a lot just listening to you two, your guys' backgrounds. You've got your feet in a lot of different business areas. You worked a lot of jobs already. Bryce and I, we always ask this question, but like, what is some advice for entrepreneurs, mainly us two, anybody else out there, just kind of moving forward, simple stuff, but just what are some things that have clicked for you guys?
Yeah.
You can go first.
Yeah, so something that I've learned, I feel like this past year really, is the networking of business owners and entrepreneurs. Finding a group that specifically does that. So touching back on what Edgar said earlier, way earlier when we started, is it's a lonely road, because not a lot of people are doing exactly what it is that you're doing. So it's very important to find other individuals that are going through the same things that you're going through, for good and bad, because every business, you're going to have your negative things that you want to talk about. But touching back again on the persona and the face you put on in a professional setting, you almost have to act like everything is fine all the time, and it's not always fine.
100%.
Yeah. So finding a group
That you can trust.
Of like-minded individuals that are doing the same things. I know we recently joined a business networking group this past summer, spring, and it was a game changer for us. I mean, the people that we've met in this group has the connections we've made, the advice we've gotten. I mean, there were some things and some angles in business that we didn't even know how to explore, even down to like the legal side of things and regulations of things. We're new at this as well. So finding other people that have done it, that you can talk to, that you feel safe talking with and exploring that, so key. So if you can find a group like that and explore that, I would absolutely say it is so worth cutting out 2 hours a week on a Wednesday night or Thursday night to find something like that to do, because you'll take a lot away from it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Katie. The networking and finding individuals that have already achieved it is, and if you can make friends with them, it will change your business, it will change who you are as well. You'll see things differently, maybe things that you've never thought about before, and they'll even give you some advice as to like what you can be doing. So networking.
Almost like a mentorship.
Yeah, finding the mentors to guide you the right way. And another thing is try not to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
Start creating a strong team, because that was one thing that I was learning too, is I was doing I could do everything myself, but I couldn't grow. Like I was going to be plateaued for the longest time if I didn't start to bring on more team members and bringing more people involved. So definitely finding those people that you can help build a team and then create something unique with them.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what it's all about. I mean, having a team that, one, you can trust, and two,
the importance of that the last couple months.
Facts. No, that's what I mean by bringing that up. Like, for the longest, like, it was Gannon and myself, and I would text him and be like, dude, we need more. Like, we need someone else to do this, do that. And he had a good point right away. It's like, but can we trust someone else? Like, is someone
Instead
else
of just giving somebody, saying, you need to try this, then we end up in a worse shape.
Like, will they alter our vision? Will the vision change? What we want to do change? And we finally came across, 3-4 great people that we're able to work with now that just help us social media wise, graphic wise, YouTube wise, and overall just anything we need at any time of the day or night.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I've realized is like Gannon and I got plenty of friends that appreciate and support what we do, but it might not be their passion. They might not enjoy that. So they can be your friends, they can be family, and you gotta respect that too. Like there is a fine line where it's like who you talk about your passions with and who you share your ideas with is very important as well.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something like I've fallen victim to is I'll share an idea with someone, and next thing you know, you see a carbon copy of it, and it's like, damn, it's like my vision, that's gone.
My vision executed. Wow, it looks nice.
Wow, that looks really
real nice.
But that's the tough part. But I want to build off of that. Talk about your ambassador program, the people you get to work with, and the people that represent your brand, and how is it important to have the correct people in place to do that?
Yeah, so we look for very ambitious individuals, people that are striving to be themselves, not just mentally but physically.
That slogan,
Yeah.
That really represent it.
We have an ambassador program that allows people to join, and they can receive up to 20%. Oh wait, no,
They get their.
40? I forgot.
Edgar doesn't do the numbers.
That's not. Yeah, that used to be what I did.
10% code for
10%.
themselves, 20 to purchase items for them or their family.
Exactly what Lydia
You want to
said.
reiterate
this is
that
why
so
I
we
built
can
a strong
cut
team.
it?
I can depend on someone to do that. So yeah, Lydia took over the ambassador program. So she's refined it, did things that I maybe at the past did wrong because I was focused on other things. But now we have an ambassador program that we can bring on new people. They can get a discount for their purchase, and they can get another discount for their friends and family. So we like to give discounts all over the place.
Yeah, really.
But what we're trying to do is get more people to see our brand, to represent us. So when we pick out our elites, which you have to pass the ambassador program first to show your loyalty to the brand. And then once you achieve elite status, that's when we start sending you free product samples. Like something like this we would send out to an ambassador to try out because this hasn't been released yet. So they get a lot of perks. They get to be in photo shoots, networking events. They get to come out and see production. Like they get to be more hands-on. But we really want to do where you become an ambassador first. You prove that you're really in our brand and you believe in our brand. Then you achieve elite statuses, and that's when you can see these awesome benefits.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ambassador program brings some really cool opportunities. Like he was touching on the photo shoots, so that's more my world in ring. Not the photo shoot itself, but the event coordinating that goes into the photo shoots and things. So it's really fun because you get to see a bunch of individuals that don't know each other, or maybe some do. Yeah. And you bring them together, and they're all representing the brand and supporting the brand, and they get to network with each other now, and they get to meet each other. And we could have 15 people in one room doing a photo shoot, and everybody. It's just such a fun time.
It is.
And
you should see how it is. So like at the end of it, once the photo shoot's done, everybody just whips out their phone. So what's your Instagram? Let me follow you on Instagram. What's your number? They start networking amongst each other, and that's how they actually start building their own personal brand
and their connections with each other. Yeah, so we definitely see where it's a successful program all around, and we're really trying to take it to the next level this year as well too for our ambassadors. So we do a lot with the community now. We're trying to build that, but we want to see how can we get our ambassadors more involved with each other and also get them to want to be a part of the brand even more. So things like You know, doing networking events with the ambassadors. You know, finding
we host an event
in a location.
Yeah,
or
we
something.
do something like mocktails, or we do one free class for every ambassador that shows up. You get to do a class, whether that's boxing, CrossFit, whatever it may be, and we host it, and ambassadors can come in and just for free, and then that's when they get to meet the other ambassadors. So I think that's a cool thing that we're going to implement in 2024 is doing even more bigger events, doing bigger things that can get ambassadors to come. And I almost feel confident that we can get ambassadors from different states to come out to these things.
Yep.
That's our goal, is make these things so big that you almost want to come out to these things.
And also host them, and you know, if we've got enough people in Texas or enough people in Florida that are ambassadors, we'll go out there now, you know, because we got so many people. And then anybody that's not from there, they can come out and join us if they want. But you know, this month we're hosting in Florida, or you know, that's the vision with the ambassador program, is to be able to do those types of things. So we're really building off of that and trying to gear it to that direction. So
I think that's huge, because we've in our Zoom meetings we bounce it off the team, and a brand ambassador program is something that we will incorporate at some time. We're just trying to figure out some fine lines with it all, and we thought about a tier process. So just listen to you guys, how you have to earn that to get there to serve. I learned a lot just from that, but because it's the cool part is then those people can go network and then gain stuff off of that. It's the same thing if we can get a college student with an NIL deal for them to use their social media experience, plus playing a sport, plus having the merchandise, just to get it out there and have more opportunities at the end of the day. So that was almost an advice answer right there. After the question I asked earlier, just because that's been something very forefront on our minds, because it's such an easy way, if we can get it established, to have so many people out there on social media with their own accounts, sharing to their own followers and everything else with our brand. I think that's huge.
And I think we both share the common goal of promoting other people, promoting their individual brands, promoting what they want to achieve. And I think that's where you kind of find out who people really are.
We're all in.
You're into the aspect of not only helping yourself and wanting to grow your business, but you want to see other people succeed. And I think that's the most crucial part of any business. If you go out of your way to help other people succeed, positivity becomes your way. And that influx, it's a continuous, it evolves 24/7. But I think my last question really is just, what are the goals and ambitions for the coming year? You talk about what you're wearing's unreleased. So what's coming in 2024? I mean, we're here now. It's gonna be here before you know.
I know.
Yeah, 2024 will probably be our biggest growth year yet.
Yeah.
I think we're dropping a new collection. We don't have a name for it yet, because we're in the works of finding the name for it. But it is an inspired collection from the Combine, the NFL Combine.
Awesome.
Will be sponsoring 25 athletes. So this is kind of like where we got the inspiration. Was like all warm-up gear, all athletic, athleisure, performance wear, and giving that black and white vibe with a little hint of red is what we got inspired. And as well as getting like new inventory. And we're talking not just like a quantity of 100. I think we're going to scale to 1,000 now. So we want to get more inventory, more stuff that we have in-house that we can is in our arsenal all the time. It's always going to be there. As well as growing our team. I think we're going to start growing our team of ambassadors, our team that works with us. We're also looking at getting a new location possibly.
So a lot of things in the works.
A lot.
Yeah.
So
I think the team and the inventory are the biggest things that probably 2024 will bring us is trying to develop the team to become bigger. And that inventory it's interesting though, because what we did is we like to take feedback from people a lot. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll take, the feedback that somebody gives us off of a shirt or leggings or something, and we go back to the drawing board and we say, okay, so this is what people said, this is what we're going to fix and what we're going to change. So that's why we're so excited for the new pieces that we do drop, is because it's not only that it's new inventory, but the pieces that we're dropping are hand-picked quality, like
fabric, anything from the fabric we chose, the colors, the type of stitching. We went back and we really looked back at
we listened to what people said.
Maybe there was a zipper that they didn't like on the side. well, now we know what kind of stitching we got to add
That's
to
awesome.
make that better. So we definitely went back to the drawing board, fixed our any issues that we had, and now we're releasing like brand new, really high quality stuff.
So I think that's why it makes it
It's
exciting
exciting,
and passionate to do it, is because it's not that it's new. It's like, hey, these are the things you guys wanted, so I'm so excited to give you guys these things.
Yeah.
Well, it's customer driven in a sense
Yeah.
too, so it's your ideas incorporated into what your buyers want.
Exactly.
And that's huge. But you got anything else you want to wrap
No,
up?
I mean, I think that was a good final question of hitting into the new year with New Year's Day coming up here in the next week and all that. I have a lot of gratitude and just thanks for you guys letting us come to do this, and just it's a fun relationship that I think is only going to keep growing through this.
Yeah.
Getting to know each other today, sitting down in person. A lot of some of the philosophies and stuff are not as far along and established, but we're on the same thought processes on a lot of things as you two.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really good positive reinforcement. What we're doing is also kind of a good groundwork moving forward. But it's very unique with your two backgrounds and your stories, just how they came together and fluidly just works together at the end of the day. And I got a lot of admiration and respect for you two, what you guys are doing and building here. And
Thank you very much.
it's going to be very cool what's going to be happening in the next even 2 to 3 months for you guys, let alone the year.
Yeah,
I
we're really
appreciate
excited.
you guys
and-
coming out too, because I mean, this is cool. We haven't done one of these before either, so
No,
I mean,
this
this
is our
is
first podcast, and we're really
Yeah.
grateful it was you guys 365, and thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to come out here to Galena to our
I know,
little workshop.
Beautiful location.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We
Yeah.
love it. We love it. But yeah, I want to
Wrap it up.
piggyback off that. Edgar, Katie, thank you both
Yeah.
from the
Thank
bottom
you,
of our
guys.
hearts. Just one, allowing us to come out here. Two, the support you've shown us on social media. Being able to connect with your guys' brand has been special for us.
Yeah.
We're very thankful for it and can't wait to keep growing. But we appreciate all of you who tapped into this one. Our first true sit-down interview in person, getting to connect, network, learn about other people, and continue a great relationship. So we are thankful you tapped in, and we will see you next time.